YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with an updated NFL mock draft just after the Ravens-Chiefs-Orlando Brown trade. So that's definitely making things more interesting, definitely changes things. The Ravens now with 2 first-round picks, of course, and the Chiefs with 2 seconds. So it's a 2-round mock. We got some trades in here. So we're going to break it down. I had to make an updated one. I was planning on my final one to be the next one, and that'd be a day before the draft, but this might be the one before the final one, just because that Ravens-Chiefs trade went down. So excited about this. Follow our Twitter for constant NFL updates. Talk about our channel, updates on our channel. Fan voted mock draft, a lot going on there. Definitely need to follow that link pinned in the comments of every single video. Please subscribe. Bunch of content on the way. Even during and after the NFL draft, winners, losers, grades. We have a day 2 mock that always comes out after day 1. So really excited about the best days of the year, in my opinion. So if you can join us for all that, here is our fan voted mock draft going on right now. So we happen to be on it's coincidence. We happen to be on the Ravens, who just made that trade. This was their original pick, obviously, but yeah, gonna make a video react to this once it's done. But on to the mock. Gonna explain most of these. Don't have to explain the first couple, and then we'll break down the trade details that I have. Jags, Trevor Lawrence. Jets, Zach Wilson. Trevor Lawrence is 100%. Zach Wilson, we're not going to call it 100. Anything past the first pick, I don't want to call it 100% guarantee, but 99.9, it's going to be a shocker if it's not Zach Wilson. 3, I know Niners fans get mad at me. Maybe people other than Niners fans probably get mad. Everyone has their opinion on who is it going to be. Should it be Mac Jones? It's a different debate. Predicting the pick, I'm predicting Mac Jones. Every time I hear somebody within the league, they never say anything other than Mac Jones. And every time I hear somebody talk about Mac Jones within the league, it's just rave reports. You know, almost sounds like a lot of people have him as number 2 quarterback after Trevor Lawrence. I don't believe the Jets do, though. But what Shanahan's going to do is pick his system over the quarterback. Sometimes teams just can't pass on the best talent in general, and they're able to adjust their system. Shanahan believes in his system, the one he grew up in, the one he's running right now. He wants a quarterback that can read the defense, process the defense, the field, and get an accurate ball out on time. And that's what he's going to go for here in Mac Jones, in my opinion. But NFL draft is wild. Anything can happen. That's why it's a beautiful thing. Falcons going Kyle Pitts. Could trade back, could take a quarterback. I'm just a believer right now. They go Kyle Pitts, best player available. Perfect for an Arthur Smith offense, who is their new head coach, and obviously will run the offense. Again, they could trade back because they're looking for some cap relief. You actually can get more picks and have it be less of a cap hit because the 4th pick is such a big cap hit. So that's a possibility, but it's kind of a dagger to have to do that when a guy like Kyle Pitts is sitting there. So I think they go that route. You hear the story that Kyle Pitts texts his agent or whoever when the 49ers go up to 3, is it for me or is it for a quarterback? That's what he says. Obviously, it's for a quarterback, but he kind of has an idea what range he's going. You know, it almost feels like he planned on going to the Falcons. Did somebody come up to swoop me? In a way, you can definitely debate that, but I'll go Kyle Pitts 4. 5, back and forth on Jamar Chase or an offensive lineman. People around the league think they need an offensive lineman, but they also are saying kind of what I've been saying. They might be set at tackle. At least they think they're set at tackle. Jonah Williams, Riley Reiff. Riley Reiff only a 1-year deal, so they could go with the tackle. They could go Jamar Chase, which they do need a receiver, an ex-receiver specifically, which is Chase, to take A.J. Green's spot. They run 3 receivers on the field at the same time, just as much as anybody. Them and the Cardinals, really, a few other teams up there, but they are up there at the top of the NFL. So they value that for sure. Having maybe the best receiver trio in football. They can plug in some guards, 2nd, 3rd round, maybe make some trades, possible. The Dolphins could trade back. They traded back to 12, then back up to 6, and it's crazy that they could actually trade back. If they do, I don't think they trade back to 12 or further. That wouldn't make much sense because they had 12. So it's a team to look out for. I just couldn't find. I was thinking about it. I know it's a trade team. I'm trying to think who could trade where. I just couldn't, reach an agreement with myself, basically, in a way. And I am staying put and getting Jaylen Waddle. A lot of hype on Jaylen Waddle. Some teams have him as the best receiver. Some teams have Pitts as the best receiver, even though he's a tight end for some people. And a lot of people have Chase as their best receiver. The Dolphins kind of traded back up with somebody in mind, somebody that I feel like they know they can get at 6. And they still have that guy in mind. And I'm thinking in this scenario, it is Jaylen Waddle to pair with Will Fuller and DeVonta Parker. Waddle back with Tua as well. Chargers trade up Lions trade back. We've heard the Lions could trade back. Chargers go up and get their tackle. It's kind of been, I've had this quite a few times, this one specifically, and other times where the Chargers just trade up in general to take Penei Sewell. They're pretty desperate for a left tackle. They view Sewell as a fit. He's got a lot of upside. He has that chemistry with Justin Herbert as well, both from Oregon. So I'm starting to hear this is actually a strong possibility. So we're starting to hear this again. So I went ahead and made that deal there, and the Lions move back. Here's the deal, 7th for 13th. Lions also pull a second-round pick with that, so we'll be picking at 13 and 2 in the second, of course. So not too much movement there, but they do move outside the top 10. The Chargers get their left tackle there. The only downside, no second-round pick. They do need another corner. They definitely need another edge rusher, in my opinion. So that's the only downside, but they get their guy, their plug-and-play left tackle for Justin Herbert. And I think the Panthers would be more. There's going to be teams that have Slater number 1 offensive tackle. We've heard that. And there's going to be teams that have Sewell number 1 offensive tackle. I think the Chargers and the Panthers both actually where they sit. Well, the Chargers really don't sit at 7. I haven't traded there. I think they both will be Sewell guys just because scheme fit. And you have to go off fit when it comes to the offensive line. It's kind of the only unit, because it's a unit, that you go off fit because the scheme is more important and the unit is more important than one single person, unlike quarterback, in my opinion, or some other positions. So, yeah, I think Sewell fits the Panthers better, even though I love Slater's game. But they could very well take Slater. But from what I've heard, teams are really high on Patrick Surtain, very high on him. Some teams actually have Horn ahead of Surtain, but the teams that are high on Surtain are very high on Surtain. I think he fits better than Horn as well. Panthers run a lot of cover 3. I think Surtain's going to be a little better in zone than Horn. Horn a little better in man. Both phenomenal man corners, though. So I like Surtain to the Panthers there at 8. I think that's pretty realistic, even though they do need help on the offensive line for Darnold. They could go Slater. It's very possible. Moving on to the next group of picks. So in this scenario, I had the quarterbacks falling, which ended up being a pretty realistic scenario, what I had happening. And the Chargers trading up, that's the key. That is the key here. And we can go back. The Chargers trading up to 7 for a tackle. Every time somebody has somebody trade up, it's for a quarterback. Now we have one realistic instance where somebody in the top 8 trades up for a tackle. It pushes the quarterbacks back. Teams like the Patriots, like the Broncos, say, we don't need to trade up for 4. We're not worried about the Bengals or the Dolphins. They sit it out, wait it out, kind of like last year. We heard about the Dolphins and the Chargers trying to jump each other for their quarterback. They both got their quarterback. They didn't need to trade up. Similar situation. And then once they see Sewell, the trade up for Sewell, they know they can wait. Maybe the Patriots want to trade with the Panthers to hop the Broncos. It's a possibility. But Justin Fields falls to the Broncos, so that works out. Could be Lance as well. Went with Fields here. And then the Cowboys, I actually go Rashawn Slater. So maybe a little bold here because it just sounds like, it feels like they're going corner because everyone's mocking them a corner. I've seen some quotes from around the league that says, don't be surprised if the Cowboys go one of the offensive linemen if they drop to them. I think they'll like Slater, compares to Zach Martin, but can play tackle at a pretty high level. They value the offensive line very, very high. They do have a good offensive line right now, but it's pretty injury prone, and they need to protect their prized possession, their franchise piece in Dak Prescott. So it just depends on, their situation, their grades on Slater versus their grades on Horn versus the grade on Surtain. They have Surtain off the board. But I'm hearing this is a possibility. Slater could go before Sewell. It's going to be all depending on which team is picking when because each team has a different fit. Again, you draft offensive lineman by fit. Obviously, the value has to be there as well. So that's the route I went. The Patriots make sure they get Lance by hopping over the Eagles and the Lions, who could take a quarterback. If they trade back, that wouldn't make much sense. But the Patriots would be willing to do this. Some more things that I've heard is the Patriots aren't a big trade a future first-round pick team. Now, if you're going to trade up into the top 8 from 15, you're going to have to trade your next year first. Maybe there's a way around it to make equal value. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a lot of picks. So if that's true, they don't want to trade their future first. They won't be going up there, but maybe they do want to trade. Maybe they're okay with it. They got a pretty complete team, so I don't see why not. But in this scenario, I had the quarterbacks falling mainly because that Chargers/Sewell trade there. Lance, if I had to pick a quarterback to fall a little bit, I think it would be Lance, just because he played one game this year. It was a little sloppy, even though he's got a lot of upside, and hasn't thrown that many career pass attempts as well. So some teams could be a little scared. Like the fit with the Patriots, they trade up here. We can show the details. So it's with the Giants. We'll talk about the Giants in a second, but it was hard to get equal value here. A little challenging, but definitely can make it work. The Giants do get this, only moving back 4 spots, get a second-round pick. It's a pretty early second round. There's a lot of value there, so we had to throw the Patriots' third-round pick. But the Giants want to gain something, of course, so they gain a 5th-round pick. The Patriots, of course, take Trey Lance in this scenario. We're hearing Dave Gettleman in the Giants, well, Dave Gettleman, that is, has never traded back. Does that mean he's guaranteed to not trade back? No. There's reports coming out that they're open to it. They're kind of making it known. Yeah, I don't see a reason why that would be smoke. I don't know why you smoke maybe will trade back. Doesn't mean they are trading back. Doesn't mean they're not. There's a first time for everything. So they trade back in a scenario. We'll get to their pick and why it's kind of a unique one in my opinion. But the Patriots take Trey Lance. Eagles take Jaycee Horn, then pair him with Darius Slay, a damn good corner duo. They're going to run a lot of cover 2, but they're going to have their corners press. That'd be perfect for Jaycee Horn, press and run cover 2 and run some man here and there. Lions traded back to took Micah Parsons. Would like DeVonta Smith for him. Sounds like he could drop a little bit because he weighs 166. Sounds ridiculous to me. The guy can play. But I like Micah Parsons a lot. He's an absolute stud. So the Lions get him in there in their linebacker unit. This was interesting with the Vikings because the Chargers trade up for Sewell. That pushed Darsaw back kind of a spot. We kind of have him going to the Chargers a lot. So he slides to the Vikings. Perfect left tackle for them. He had a phenomenal tape in 2020. Big fan of his game. So that would be ideal for the Vikings there. So the Giants traded back. I had him grabbing Azeez Ojulari, the edge rusher from Georgia. In the scenario, I kind of took the bait, whether it's true or not, on the Giants possibly trading back. So in this scenario, they traded back. That's done. If they do want to trade back, they probably have somebody in mind that they know they can get. It's thought about DeVonta Smith from them. That would have been great. Trade back and still get DeVonta Smith because they could still add a receiver. But they would have to be worried about the Eagles, the Lions. So if they did trade back, if they did in this scenario, it'd have to be somebody they know they can. If they're targeting somebody, they know they can get. So Azeez Ojulari popped in my mind. He's definitely worth around this range of picks. He's a very good pass rusher, but he's a 3-4 edge rusher. And I don't see any of these teams in this range kind of making that making that pick there. I also thought about Jamin Davis because he's a true inside linebacker. Giants could be looking for that. He sounds like he's rising up board. Ojulari, Jamin Davis, it's somebody like that if the Giants trade back because they're targeting somebody they know they can get. I don't think they want to move back too far. Thought about Jaylen Phillips would be fantastic, but I don't know if they would go behind the Vikings, with that. It'd be a little scary. So Ojulari is a fantastic speed rusher that develops some moves. Could drop in coverage if you need him to. Fits their 3-4, the Giants 3-4. They need a pass rush, and then the defense is going to be nasty. So DeVonta Smith falls a bit. I've heard the Cardinals want to trade up for a receiver. Part of me thinks that might be true. They might be fine with sitting put and taking a receiver because they're hearing a guy like this could fall. Or a big part of me says they want to trade up for a receiver. Maybe that means they want to trade up for something else. A little bit of smoke within something true. Maybe a cornerback. Couldn't figure something out here to make a deal, but they could be a trade up spot. But this would be great. DeVonta Smith. They need a separator. They need somebody that separates, specifically in the middle of the field. That's what they were lacking last year. It'd be absolutely perfect here. DeVonta Smith for the Cardinals. Moving on to the next group of picks here. Christian Barmore, another guy that's been rising up boards. We know that's supposed to go. I've heard top 15. I think this is closer to his range here, but the Raiders could use an interior guy. They did bring in Solomon Thomas, who can move in and out. Quentin Jefferson, same thing, 1-year deal, so they could add a guy like Barmore here into plug and play. Jaylen Phillips, my number 1 pass rusher. The Dolphins grab him. That'd be a fantastic pick there. I've been hearing Jamin Davis is a hot name, could go around this range, trying to find fits. Again, the Giants could trade back and take him. The Raiders could be a wild card team there. If the Dolphins want to go more 4-3, they could go there. But I think in Washington, they could upgrade almost any of those linebacker spots. I think they'll like Jamin Davis. He's really the only true middle linebacker in this class. You have the thought that Micah Parsons could. It's a pretty good thought, understandable. But Davis is really the only true guy, so that's probably why he's a hot name. He's improved. He's extremely athletic, can cover, can tackle. So Washington could be a sneaky team for a guy like that. Tevin Jenkins of the Bears could be a plug-and-play right tackle. They brought back Kwity, but it felt like an insurance policy type thing. Makes sense. Could go Jenkins for the right tackle. Elijah Vera-Tucker, I've heard, could go close to the top 10, but in this realistic scenario, he drops through. Why? It's triggered by, once again, that Chargers trading up for Sewell, which is realistic. We've heard it can happen. It triggered that. It caused, remember, Darsaw to drop a couple spots to the Vikings, and then that caused Elijah Vera-Tucker to keep dropping here. He could go to some of these other teams ahead of him. I like him better at guard. You know, it's funny because if certain teams draft him and try to put him at tackle, I'm going to be a little, and if certain team drafts him and we have the idea they may put him at tackle, I'd be a little scared. I like him much, much better at guard. The Colts took him. I'd be thinking they're putting him at tackle. I wouldn't really be as worried. I'd be confident about the Colts kind of, they're very good at developing offensive line. They got a great unit, great scheme. So that's a team I wouldn't really worry about left tackle. He's a phenomenal talent. I think he'd be a Pro Bowl guard, but then he definitely can be a very talented guy as a left tackle for the Colts. Titans go Rashad Bateman. They need that Corey Davis replacement. They do have Josh Reynolds, pretty solid pickup, but they could look to add somebody like this. Bateman could compare to Corey Davis, so could Terrace Marshall. Maybe they don't really want a Corey Davis guy. Maybe they want to go with the shiftier Elijah Moore, Kadarius Toney. All that possible. A lot of different scenarios with the Titans here, but go Bateman. Joe Tryon, big time buzz around him, just like Jamin Davis, just like Barmore. He's supposed to go in the first round, and I do have a first round grade on him. He's very talented. It's a little risky because he's had one good season, opted out last season, but I think he would fit the Jets opposite of Carl Lawson, another one of those guys like Azeez Ojulari. That's kind of he can play both 3-4 outside linebacker and 4-3 end. Looks more, the Jets defense under Robert Saleh is going to look more like a 4-3. There's just one hybrid position. It's not a hybrid defense. It's just one hybrid position. It is that spot. D Ford played it for Saleh. Tryon could fill that role because he can rush standing up, rush hand in the dirt on the line, drop back in coverage. I like his upside because Washington had him dropping back in coverage when he could have had more production rushing. He could have had a lot more production. He had good production as it was. So I like the fit there. I had the Buccaneers trading up for Jason Oweh. I think I had that last time. This time I have him trading up to 24 with the Steelers. I really liked Jason Oweh. I like Jason Oweh in general. I believe in his upside. All these guys have upside. Do you believe in the upside? I believe in it. Especially with the Bucs. They, this is a team that definitely could trade up, could have less picks. Because not all these guys are going to make the roster, so they're going to go big here and kind of get the future JPP out there because and he can work in with JPP and Shaq Barrett, but JPP got one more year left. So that was the trade there. I thought it was good that the Steelers traded back in this scenario. Let's pull it up. Here it is, 24th, and the Steelers get 32nd and a third and a fourth. A second would have been a little too rich, but they get 2 picks there. The Buccaneers are good with that as well. They're good with making less picks and getting these big-time players. It made sense for the Steelers, though, because Steelers, for being a pretty good team still, they had a lot of needs. They need offensive line and some more offensive line. They need a running back. They need a corner because they don't have Steven Nelson anymore. Some people would disagree. I think they need an edge rusher. Still, it's a very important piece. And you could argue other things that are needs. They're not high-level needs maybe, but for a pretty good team, they got some needs. So I think trading back, getting more picks, still getting that first-round pick that's coming up here, I think that'd be fantastic for the Steelers. But there's also options that they can take at 24. That'd be fantastic as well. But then we move on to the back 8 here before the second round. Jags go Kadarius Toney. I'm thinking they can get a weapon like this a little earlier than people would expect. Urban Meyer gets his Percy Harvin, not because he was at Florida, because he plays kind of like him as well. True slot receiver. Do they have a true slot? I think they'll use a guy like Laviska Shenault there quite a bit, but is he a true slot receiver? They'll use all those guys. More weapons, the better. I had Jeremiah Usu-Karamoa drop in here. Now, this is the interesting part. Had him drop into 26. You hear rave reports on him within the league. My problem is he only fits. It only feels like a handful, maybe a little more than that, but a handful of teams, So he could drop because the teams that do like him, maybe like we can trade back or we can wait to take this guy. Because this team's not going to take him, this team's not going to take him, Who knows, though? Maybe a 3-4 views him as a fit, using him as a big nickel, strong safety type player. But the Browns would like to have him. They would put him at outside linebacker, use him at slot at times if they would like to. But they desperately need speed at the linebacker position. They get that there. For some reason, Ravens fans were not happy with it when I had this pick last time. I did it again. Obviously not anything against the fans. I'm predicting the pick here. if I was a Ravens fan and they got Elijah Moore at 27, I'd be jumping up and down. Elijah Moore, I should say, is a fantastic. He's my receiver 4, fantastic slot receiver that can play outside. He's going to get open in a second and instantly. That's why I like him so much. Such good route running ability, good footwork. It's exactly what Lamar Jackson needs. He's got guys that aren't getting quick enough separation. Hollywood Browns could get separation because of his speed. It's more of a downfield thing. So, and I know last time some Ravens fans were kind of banking on younger guys' development. Duvernay, sure, a guy can get better, can be part of a good rotation here. You're trying to win a Super Bowl. You're trying to get as good as you can get, not sit around and maybe develop guys. We'll see where they can get. No wasting time there with a contending team like this. So, grab a guy like Elijah Moore, just instantly upgrade. Saints go Caleb Farley here. Could drop a little bit because he has injury concern, but he's super talented. Pair with Marshawn Lattimore there. This is the furthest he probably gets around this range. Maybe 30, we'll call it the latest. Gregory Russo from Miami. Actually, I'm going to the Packers. Some talk around the league with him that teams like him at 3-4 end. I like the idea of it as well because he did play across the defensive line, playing different spots. And I do like the idea of him at 3-4 end, taking advantage of his length there. And just needs to put on a little more strength probably, but he'll be fine. But the Packers could use some help down there across the defensive line with Kenny Clark. It's really Kenny Clark only out there because they got some good pass rushers. They're outside linebackers in that scheme. I had Kwity Paye dropping a little bit. I think Joe Tryon sneaking up, I think pushes edge rusher like this down. But again, the order the edge rushers come off the board, just like maybe the receivers for the most part, corners, the order they come off the board going to be pretty random. So anything could happen here, but in this scenario with Tryon going up, people have to go down. Kwity Paye ends up dropping a little bit. The Bills would jump all over that, in my opinion. So the Ravens traded earlier today with the Chiefs, so they had the 31st pick, kind of banking on them getting Villanueva and plugging him in at right tackle so they could add a receiver and an edge rusher. I think they would like guys like Azeez Ojulari and Joe Tryon. I think they would like them very much. They're gone by this point. Would they trade up? Maybe. The first mock, the day of they made the deal, I wanted to give them picks where they're picking here. I think it'd be pretty cool to look at. But Zaven Collins, I think they will like. He's weighing in about 270. There's talk that he could be an edge rusher. His upside there, and teams may have told him they plan on putting him an edge rusher. Why he's 270 right now. But he's a phenomenal off-the-ball linebacker. What he's going to be able to do at the edge rush position right away, he has to develop things off the edge. But what he can do right away is be a high motor guy and drop in coverage pretty well, because that's what he did. The Ravens pass rushers, that's what they do. That is what and you have the upside. You have a good team. You're capable of bringing in the guy with the upside here. So he has the upside as a pass rusher. I think he'll be pretty solid right off the bat. But he's going to get you production. He's going to be able to drop in coverage. You also could get flexible. Versatile here. You can put him inside. He actually fits as an inside as well in the Ravens scheme because he's a phenomenal blitzer. The Ravens blitz their inside linebackers a ton. They have quite a few. Patrick Queen's set, obviously. They have quite a few they can play, but it's a spot they can get better. It's kind of a 2-for-1 here. They could definitely use him in multiple ways. I do think it's a fit. It's kind of a unique fit, but I think that would be something they do in this scenario. Steelers traded back. It could be offensive line. It could be running back. But I went with Greg Newsome. Pretty good value here. I think he's a really good fit in Mike Tomlin's scheme. They're going to run some man. Could run off man here with him, Newsome and Hayden. That makes a lot of sense to me. And that's what Newsome's best at there. So they trade back, get some solid value here, and they can kind of focus on offensive line, running back, and then maybe edge rusher the rest of the way. It doesn't really have to be a set order. But moving on to the second round, we got Etienne of the Jags. I think somewhat surprising pick, but it's very realistic, I believe. I think specifically they'll be looking for Etienne. They're going to look into to add as many playmakers as possible. Even with James Robinson, he can handle the duties inside, Etienne outside in the passing game. Jets grab Alex Leatherwood. I really like Leatherwood at guard. He could play right tackle for the Jets, but I think he'd be a day one starting guard. Najee Harris, the Falcons, they grab their back. Dolphins grab their back, and Javonte Williams. Eagles grab a receiver now. They grab that Jaycee Horn the first. Adding Marshall would be ideal here. Good value pick. Bengals add Landon Dickerson. Could play him at center or guard. Panthers get their left tackle and Cosme. Broncos get corner of the future here for Stokes. Fuller, a one-year deal. Darby's nothing guaranteed, but they did sign him to a decent contract. Lions go Rondale Moore. Add the receiver now after taking Parsons in the first. Giants go Jalen Mayfield. Could compete for the right tackle job or can be an even better at guard there. And the Niners go Asante Samuel Jr. I think he fits their cover 3 scheme there. And Javon Mareg, I dropping a little bit. It's tough to mock him. I think teams are really going to be split. I think that's why it's tough. I think some teams will have him pretty high because they'll have him a set position, safety position for him because he's kind of played all over. Some teams may just view him as a slot player because he actually played more slot than anything this past year. But the Cowboys grab him, play him at safety, and they're really beefing up the secondary now. And then the Jags get Javon Holland, I think a better fit for them at safety perhaps. And they grab him from Oregon at 45. Giants got this for the Patriots trade, and they grabbed Nick Bolton for the inside linebacker spot. And then the Lions, Levi Onwuzurike next to Brockers in there, an interior defensive line. Liam Eichenberg, potential swap to right tackle for the Raiders. There can compete for that spot. We move on to the last of it here, this 2-round mock. Tyson Campbell, the Cardinals, could fit there with Malcolm Butler, of course. They grabbed DeVonta Smith in the first. Quinn Miners to the Dolphins. I've had a lot of these picks quite a few times here. Kellen Mond to Washington. They can grab their quarterback, compete for the future because Fitzpatrick's not going to be around forever. They do have Heineke that Mond can take over. I had De'Ami Brown falling a little bit. I think teams will be split on him, too. I've heard teams aren't thrilled with his route tree. Very, very limited. Post or go pretty much every time. But I see him definitely being able to do a lot more than that. I don't see why not. So the Bears could grab their playmaker here. Fatu Melifonwu with the Titans for the corner from Syracuse. Heard he can go late first, early second. Ends up dropping to this spot, but should be more of his range. But yeah, athletic freak, good size, physical as well, can tackle. Colts grab Carlos Basham, so they get their defensive end there. I think they'd be a good fit in their 4-3. Redunes to the Steelers. They got their offensive lineman. Here with 55. Calvin Joseph. Seahawks need that corner replacement there for Shaq Griffin. They grab Joseph, the upside corner from Kentucky. Creed Humphrey to the Rams. They're going to need a center replacement, so they grab him. Chiefs got 2 picks now down here because the Ravens trade, the Orlando Brown trade. Peyton Turner, upside, freaky length defensive end here from Houston. I think he'll fit the Chiefs. I think they'll like him. Milt Williams could be that Sheldon Richardson replacement, could potentially play 3 technique. Could play off the edge as well. Could do a little bit of both. Saints grab the receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown, pretty versatile. Could play inside out. Aaron Robinson to the Bills. I like his upside on the outside. He played both slot and outside, a little more in the slot, but I really got a feeling about him outside. Reminds me of Tre'Davious White a little bit when he was coming out of LSU. So that'd be pretty good for the Bills there. Been hearing Aaron Banks could be a guy that goes in round 2. Early 3 makes sense to me as well, but I think he's a good fit there with the Packers. And they could be looking kind of up in the air. You know, they could look for a guard or a right tackle, see what they want to do with Billy Turner. Could play either. They got some versatile guys down there, so the best available is a possibility for them. Jabril Cox for the Chiefs. Tough one is one. They could need linebacker. They may not. They drafted Willie Gay Jr. from Mississippi State last year. A lot of upside in him. It seemed like they didn't really like him year 1. Doesn't mean a whole bunch for a rookie, but you know it just seemed like they didn't really want to force anything with him. And Cox is a phenomenal coverage linebacker, so they could look to add another one of those guys. I mean, you can move him around a bit as well. Put him at safety, put him in the slot. So it's a possibility. And then the Bucs, I've had this before too, Davis Mills. Teams probably could trade up for these quarterbacks, Mond and Mills, and just tough to say who's going to pull the trigger. Could be late first even. This is one of the hardest things to predict, probably those quarterbacks, where they're going to go, who's going to be the team. But it'd be a good Tom Brady replacement for the future there for the Buccaneers. But that wraps up the updated mock draft post Ravens Chiefs Orlando Brown trade. He had some more trades in this one. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. We're getting real close to the NFL draft. We'll have a bunch of content leading up to the draft and, of course, during and after the draft as well. As always, follow our Twitter for updates and constant NFL talk. We'll be breaking down every single pick on there for the most part. And, link and pin in the comments for anything you need there. Please subscribe. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.